I'm in Shenandoah National Park at Jewell Hollow Overlook. This is mile marker 36.5. The elevation here is 3360. And I'm going to be heading over there and looking for the Appalachian Trail, and then I'm going to head northbound on the Appalachian Trail over here to this real steep ridge which is called Leading Ridge, and I'm going to follow the Leading Ridge Trail down the side of that ridge line down to the bottom of the mountain at the park boundary. This is supposed to be one of the steepest trails in the whole park, so let's get started over here looking for the Appalachian Trail. Here's a view from the overlook. Here's Leading Ridge. It's about 65 degrees up here this morning. It's nice. About 100 feet down this little path, there's the Jewell Hollow Overlook there where my car's parked. Just come right up here and you'll see the Appalachian Trail signpost here. So there's a white blaze on that tree, but you can barely see it. But we're going to head to the right here and hike north on the AT for a while. Four-tenths of a mile into my hike. The elevation here is 3370, and here's the signpost, the intersection with Leading Ridge Trail. There's the Appalachian Trail. I came up from that direction, and the Appalachian Trail continues on up the side of the mountain this way, and it will take you, in a mile or so, it will take you up to a summit called the Pinnacles. I've already hiked that, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Leading Ridge Trail and follow it down to the park boundary. So if you come up from Jewell Hollow Overlook, you come up this way, look for the signpost, and turn left. Five-tenths of a mile into my hike. The elevation here is 3464. It's been a pretty steep uphill climb so far. There's where I came from. And looks like this is the high point of the hike, and from here on it looks like it's a pretty steep descent. Wow, yeah, it is pretty steep. Okay, so here we go down into the valley. Just ran into a black bear, but he took off before I could get my camera out. Nice size one, nice looking bear. Here's where I came from. Man, this is a steep trail. This is slow going because of on account of how steep the trail is. And also, it doesn't appear to be used very much because there's still leaves in the middle of the trail from where they fell last fall. Here's where I came from. This will give you, maybe you can see the slope of the mountain there. It's pretty steep. Then down here's where I'm headed. It's blazed blue on top of yellow. Now yellow means horse trail, but they've blazed the blue over top of it. I've got a theory about that, but I want to wait till I get to the bottom before I tell you what my theory is. .6 miles into my hike. I'm down to 1,890 feet. And I just walked out of the park. There's a boundary sign for the park. There's some trees down that way, just a little ways, that are blazed red. And then the very next trees over have those yellow signs on them posted. No trespassing, no fishing, no hunting, no nothing. And there's a whole bunch more yellow signs, no trespassing. So I don't think there's any access to the bottom from here. So here's there's a signpost. Up there is a sign talking about the backcountry. And then over here's private property. Now I'm gonna venture over there and just take a couple of pictures for you, because I see 2 deer stands up in trees. So they're taking their hunting right to the edge of their property, it looks like. Okay, so here's one of the tree stands right next to the park boundary. And then not too far away is this one. It's got a metal ladder going up. It's kind of bright, but maybe you can see it. Really steep trail. I was looking up at it. Whew! It never lets up either. I just climbed 500 feet vertical in a half a mile of hiking. I got about another 1,000 feet to climb, I think. .5 miles into my hike. I'm still climbing the mountain. I'm over 3,000 feet now though, up to 3,060 feet. Here's where I came from. I'm sitting on this great big huge tree that fell across the trail. Woo-wee! Man, this is a steep trail for sure. And it looks like I got about another quarter of a mile back up to the Appalachian Trail. So I'm going to rest here for a minute and then keep on climbing. .9 miles into my hike. I just finished hiking the Leading Ridge Trail. I'm back down here at the intersection with the Appalachian Trail. There's where I came from. Back there about 1/10 of a mile, I peaked out around 3,400 feet elevation. Now I'm down to 3,340. And instead of turning right and heading back along the AT, I think I'm just going to go straight down this way because I can hear and see Skyline Drive down there. So I'm just going to take a shortcut, come down through here and walk Skyline Drive back to the Overlook. I think it's about 1/10 of a mile. Here's where Leading Ridge Trail lets you out of Skyline Drive, and right over there is the Overlook. So it is a shortcut. This is a map of today's hike. The quadrangle name is Thornton Gap, 1994, and I hiked the Leading Ridge Trail. This is a trail that I skipped over the past few years to hike what I thought was more interesting trails, and it's a fairly short trail. It's only 3 miles round trip, but it turns out this trail is one of the steepest trails in the entire park. And after hiking it today, I think I agree with that assessment. It is really a steep trail. You come into the park at Thornton Gap off US 211 from Sperryville, Virginia. And you get on Skyline Drive. That's about mile marker 32. And you come on south on Skyline Drive down this way until you get to here, at Jewell Hollow Overlook. There's an overlook right here. This is mile marker 36.5. And you park your car there, and then what you do is there's a little opening in the woods which takes you a couple hundred feet to the west, and then you'll see the Appalachian Trail. And then you turn right on the Appalachian Trail and hike northbound on the Appalachian Trail until you get to here. I think it was about 4/10 of a mile until you get to here. Now when you get to here, you can continue northbound on the Appalachian Trail this way, and it'll take you up to a summit called the Pinnacles right here and beyond. But what I did was I turned left on this leading ridge trail, and initially you hike uphill, but after a short ways you'll get to the high point, which is around 3,400 feet elevation, and then from there you start your descent. Now it's a very, very steep trail all the way down. This is just a little over a mile, and in a mile you're dropping 1,600 feet in a mile. So that is a lot of drop. Now when I got down to here, this is the park boundary, and there's no trespassing signs posted all over the place, so I don't think you can go any further like down here to actually get down to this state route. So and at the top they have a sign that says that there's no public access at the bottom. When you get to the bottom, I looked around and noticed over this way on private property there was a couple of tree stands for hunting deer. So I went over and took a couple pictures of those, and then came back and then started this grueling climb back up. I didn't bother to stop for lunch because there was nowhere really convenient to stop. Now when I got back to here where the Appalachian Trail is, to go back the way I came I would have turned right, but instead I noticed there was this little connector going through the woods all the way down to Skyline Drive right here. So I just continued straight down to Skyline Drive, and then when I looked to the right I could see the overlook right here, so I just followed Skyline Drive back to the overlook. Now when I got back here, you'll notice right here it says BM 3335, and there's an X right there. That's the location of one of these survey benchmarks. And when I looked around, I noticed I didn't have a printout of this benchmark to give me the exact location or even a description of where it was, but when I looked around I saw this huge rock outcropping, which is something like that's where they like to put these benchmarks. So I climbed up on top of the rock outcropping, and sure enough there it was. I'll have to study my picture some to get the details of the benchmark, but the elevation there is 3335. So there's really nothing to see along this leading ridge trail. I came back and hiked it today because it's just one of the ones that I skipped over working my way through the park. I've hiked most of the major trails now in Shenandoah Park, so I'm going back this year and I'm trying to pick up trails like this that I skipped over earlier. But this is actually, if you're looking for a workout, this is a good trail to hike. You got to be careful on it though, because it's very steep. It's easy to lose your footing on it because there's lots of, it's not heavily traveled. I noticed that there was leaves in the trail from last fall that haven't been, most of the trails that are heavily used, the leaves where your feet go on the trail have been completely, worn away. But this thing had leaves on it. There was acorns on it, loose rocks. It's really steep. It is in the shade though. Now in the wintertime, if you hike this, you might get some pretty good views to the west. because every once in a while when I look to the west I could see over here into the valley, but not very well. But I think in the wintertime you might get some good views over here to the west. And that was the hike for today.